Welcome, IFPA aromatherapists, to my school office, to my she shed. You are very welcome here in my shed, and I hope you're having a lovely day wherever it is. And whenever we're watching this, it's really warm, really sunny today. So, you know, maybe this is our one day of summer, who knows? But I hope you're having a really lovely day, and thank you for joining us. And I've got somebody really brilliant coming to meet me for our cups of tea this morning. I've got Melani. Yeah, see, you've got to bring tea to the party. That's the plan. Tea and a notepad and pen. So I've got Melani from DropSmith. So welcome, Melani. And Melani is going to talk to us about a subject that, well, who knew that this was even possible? Melani is going to make chemistry fun for us. Like, who knew that it was possible? So, yes, so welcome, Melani. I'm really thrilled that you have agreed to do this recording with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to do my best to try and make it fun.
Yeah, there's all the pressure is on you now.
Oh, I'm used to it. It's okay. Just load it on.
Yeah, exactly. So I tell you what would be really nice, maybe, to introduce yourself to our IFPA members. I know you've got a brilliant article in Essence at the moment. So we've met you there, which is brilliant. And some of our members have met you at Botanica previously, because they've told me how brilliant you were there. But for those that haven't met you yet, it would be really nice to maybe hear a little bit about you and how you became to be an aromatherapist.
Oh, wow. We have an hour.
Maybe short version.
Okay, I'll try. Well, it's aromatherapy has been really it kind of happened to me because I'm a very curious person. So growing up, I was a dancer and a jock, a sports person, and then I went to a creative high school. I was an art major. But that wasn't enough, you know, because I liked math as well.
Okay.
So
that's quite a combination, isn't it? That's quite an unusual combination.
So I decided to study computers. I'm a computer engineer. That wasn't enough for me. So I worked. I combined the two, and I worked as an art director. I was an art director by 23, actually.
Wow.
But while I was studying, I smelled something in a shop, and it was essential oils. Yeah. So I started reading about it, and I said, you know, the first opportunity I have, I'm going to get education on it, because I had a hunch it wasn't so simple. So while I was working very happily as a designer, I decided to study aromatherapy. And then I said, well, I'm going to have a workshop or two, you know. My friend asked, and I said, yeah, I want to. and that's it. And then, you know, a workshop or two became a full-time thing. And very soon I was discovered because I moved to Slovenia. My husband is Slovenian, so I moved here. And then I said, you know, as long as I'm moving and changing my whole life, why not become a therapist?
Just add another new thing.
You know, a language you don't speak, and you know, there's no aromatherapy at all here. So you know, it will be a challenge, and it was.
Oh, wow.
So then it took over my life, because, as I said, aromatherapy was not, didn't exist as an education system here. And I started, and they wanted me to teach pharmacists nonetheless.
No pressure.
And so when they told me that I will be teaching pharmacists because they sell essential oils in
okay.
I said, okay, just give me at least 6 months so I can prepare. And I really started studying chemistry.
Oh, great.
Yes, and that's when I started studying chemistry. And then I discovered that there's this whole Pandora box.
Yeah.
I had a hunch it was important, but, you know, for me, aromatherapy was fun, and it smelled nice. And from that moment on, I kept on studying chemistry and was more into clinical aromatherapy. I worked with Rhiannon and some other aromatherapists, and then discovered this whole amazing community out there on a global level. And you know, 10 years whizzed by, and I still don't know how I'm an aromatherapist. It happened to me.
And did you? No, this is not one of the questions that we planned, but just what you said, and already has happened. We're off track. And you said something then. So aromatherapy was about sort of nice smells and fun, and adding the chemistry into it. Is it still fun? And
yes, it rounded back to fun.
Okay.
It was very frustrating, as you may imagine, and some people, because I went backwards. I didn't come to chemistry and then aromatherapy. I learned about aromatherapy because I was so curious, and this didn't make sense and that didn't make sense, and then I kept digging and digging and digging, and I got stuck in chemistry and pharmacology, and I'm like, what am I doing here? But then it all makes sense with DropSmith, as you said, because I got to use all of these things.
Yeah.
Kind of my art background and my IT background, and then aromatherapy and chemistry, and all the wonderful people I got to meet through all my projects, because I was in search of answers to these endless questions. Yeah. I could incorporate it all and make this thing. So today it makes sense, but last 20 years were very confusing.
I always say to all of my students, like whatever background, because you find that people of all ages and all backgrounds come to aromatherapy, don't they? It's not any one particular, I think. And then, you know, a lot of students that start with me will say, I don't know how this is going to fit into my life, or whether I will end up doing nothing with it. And yet I always say to them, like, no experiences in life is ever wasted, even if it doesn't make sense how it all comes together. In the end, we do draw on previous experiences to get us where we are. And those previous experiences really add value to where we end up being, don't they?
Yes, and I feel very silly because I end up teaching a lot of medical professionals. And just yesterday, I had a lecture at the Faculty of Pharmacy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, alongside Professor of Pharmacy, my dear friend Nina Kuchera. You perhaps know her. She is the editor of Modern Cosmetics, the book.
Yeah.
Well, and then I was invited to to show aromatherapy in practice, and the students asked me, so what is your background? My background is, I'm an IT, a computer engineer. So I always, it's a funny thing. But life just, you know, gives you lemons, you make lemon juice. I guess.
It's an adventure. So, how did you go from, like, where did the idea of DropSmith come from?
Well, it was always there, because when I was studying aromatherapy, I was still doing design and still doing web things.
Yes.
So from day one, I was like, oh, I need to make this into something more applicable. It's easy to click, and I had all these ideas. And actually, we started creating it long time ago. I think it was 2010 or 2011 with a colleague of mine who's a programmer. And he was actually with me on Botanica 2012, because we thought that by then we were going to surely have this program done. But obviously not. And from there, at that time, I also had my daughter, and I started really studying chemistry. So it developed into something different than the original idea, but it was kind of cooking in my head for almost a decade, I guess. Less than a decade, but a long time. And there were all these little things that had to come together to actually become what it is now. And it's still not what it should be, but it's on its way. At least it's something I can show finally.
Yeah.
It's launched. That's a big thing.
When did you launch it, Melanie?
I think it was not last September, but the one before.
Oh, it's still such new thing.
It's so new. Not September, October.
So October 2017.
And 2017. It's whizzed by. So as you see, I can't even think of when it was actually launched because we're still working on it.
Yes.
By the time this video comes out, I'm hoping the new version will come out. So
okay.
We'll see. Yeah, it's been a long.
Probably, having had a look at DropSmith, I would imagine that this is going to be an ongoing life project. It's not something that is ever going to get stagnant or stale, because obviously research, new science, and new essential oils coming into the mix as well. It will be something that you're going to be, it'll be a lifelong project for you, surely.
Well, yes. For now, I'm still excited about it. We'll see. Yeah. It's a lifelong project, not because of me, but because, also the technology keeps on giving us new opportunities and new findings about all fronts of aromatherapy. It's not just the chemistry, it's also technology, it's the distilling, it's chemotypes, and so many things to consider. And
it's really exciting. Well, having had a look at it, I think it's absolutely brilliant. And it's fantastic that you've taken this idea and actually taken years for it to come to fruition. So it shows such persistence, perseverance, and probably passion. Oh, did you see what I did then? Persistence, perseverance, and passion, all the P's. Like I planned it. But it does show such perseverance for something. So, and only passion can fuel such perseverance. So, well done you. And thank you, because I absolutely love using it. I really enjoy using it. So, do you think we should maybe give people a look at it? Should we share it?
I'll show you, and yes.
Should we share?
Okay, I'll show you. And you ask me questions that people are curious about.
I like how pretty it is. Oh, look at that! It's lovely.
So as you said, it was inspired by many things. Also the caddy models, as you said, I had to develop them further. So if you see, for example, this Melissa oil, I added a lot more because I wanted to have subcategories for. So we do have alcohols, but we also have 3 or 4 subcategories for all of them. So for each one of them, you have monoterpene, sesquiterpene, D-terpene, aromatic, and other.
Right.
And this other, we have like 30 more other. It obviously depends on the chemistry of the essential oil. So you can really break down the chemistry as much as you are interested in, or as much as you can follow.
Yeah, of course.
I wanted this for my students, to be able to use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then to make it useful, if we found, references on the chemical components, we added that as well. So everything in it's referenced. Something that I found very confusing in my study, and that my students got confused. When is it that we're talking about antibacterial properties of Melissa, or are we talking antibacterial, properties of citral?
Yes.
To be clear what we're talking about, and and what are
the antibacterial properties of the essential oil as a whole, or the antibacterial properties of that component of the oil?
Exactly. And then it also something I could remember quite a few properties because I obviously teach this over and over again, but there's so much to consider. So this is something I wanted to do, is that we add up the properties of chemical components that we found evidence for, and then it adds up, for example, antibacterial properties of these chemical components. So it can give you an idea. I'm not saying it's 100% because obviously there's synergy there, and unpredictable, but it's a good start. So The reason I created it, there are many reasons, but one of it is because you can't remember it all.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yes.
And we tend to use oils for one or two things. I don't know about you, but Melissa, I use it only for when I get
Oh, the cold sores. Mm.
yes, cold sores. So see, I think it should be in here somewhere.
Yeah, it's there.
Cold
Hopefully there.
and
Yeah.
who said it? But then I would never think of using it for cramps, maybe because it's too expensive as well. But
Yeah.
grief, for example, never occurred to me.
Yes.
So just to give you everything, not as much as we can in one place, so you can actually have more time to do your work. I work with a lot of nurses, for example. They don't have time to check these things. You know, they're working all day long, helping. A lot of them work in palliative care, and I had them in mind. And then a lot of people here have to really, really back up their choices because we only got aromatherapy accredited as a profession this December.
Gosh.
This December. And I've been teaching on a university level for a few years now, so in this country. But it took us 6 years to get it, you know. And
yeah.
It's mad. So anybody who actually wanted to use aromatherapy in Slovenia had to be really, really careful to back up their choices and shaky ground. So yeah. Do you want me to show you some cool stuff with Melissa?
Yes, please. I love the cool stuff.
Okay, I don't know why Melissa, but we happened to click on it. So if I write Melissa, this is another reason why I wanted to make DropSmith, is see how very, very different these Melissas are, their chemistry. So although they're all Melissa officinales, their chemistry
They're so different, aren't they?
And that's not even the start of it. These ones actually look, if you write, for example, Immortelle or Helichrysum. I spelled it wrong. Do you see how different they are?
Gosh, wow, yeah. Look at that third one, how different that one is.
Yes. Yeah. So what I wanted to do is allow people to compare them. For example, this is from Italy, this one is from Croatia. And then you said this one.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's from Cork, I'm not sure.
And
then let's take this one is from Slovenia. Okay. So we can have from different countries. So I'm very, very curious. I like to compare everything. And so here you can compare all the data that we have. So right away you can see where they're from and who they're from. So it's all transparent. And you can click on all of these sellers or producers to see more about them. We're not selling any oils, but if you're interested, you can always contact them. So I wanted it to be win-win for everybody involved.
So good.
For people, I have such great experience with colleagues who allowed me to quote their books, and then you can go ahead and read them and find out more about the author. This is another thing I wanted to, bring out the importance of knowing where your information is from and who is it from, and then you can decide if this person is a good enough reference for you or perhaps not. Yes. But giving credit to people who actually did this work, I think it's quite important. So this is obviously all the same because it's the same oil. But here you can then compare, see how very different their chemistry.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Gosh.
Very rare. And ketones, you're probably interested in those because this is what we're looking for in. See, in Immortelle. And then again, it adds up all the properties of the chemical components. And another thing I wanted to add, because I was curious, is how an average would look like. Not that I personally don't believe that we can have an average, but because obviously they're so different. But just out of curiosity, to have that possibility to see an average.
Because I think, and that's one of the things that I was concerned. I know I messaged you and chatted to you about it, but one of my concerns was actually the oils that I have or that I buy, the companies that I buy from, are not yet listed on the website.
That's the dream, but it's, I think we need some time to get to that.
You need to spread the word and get essential oil suppliers on the system. That's what we need to do, get them to message you. But what happens then, so for the aromatherapist that actually doesn't have that, the company of oils that they tend to use are not listed, how would they then go about having...
Well, you can always get us in touch with the company, and hopefully we can add them to our system. So that's our wish, is to have as many different companies and distillers as possible. I realize this is, excuse me, a utopia and impossible to have everybody, but we do have, you can really follow it to the batch. So if you see this one, for example, you see exactly who it's from and the batch number. So if your company is on there, you can follow it exactly to the batch. But even if you're not using these oils that we offer, there's so much you can use from here. Not only as a teacher or a therapist, you have the properties for, these are the properties for any immortelle essential oil, you know, that we found research for. And we went so far as to, if we found the bacteria, for example, which we actually put that in there as well. So when you search, you can search for the specific bacteria, and the oils that have been associated with it will pop up. So you can really, 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 really.
That's really good.
Yes, you can really point your what you want to see. So all of this is useful regardless of the oils that you're using for it, as well as, for example, if you're interested in the properties of alpha pinene. So that information is useful for you anyway.
Yeah.
But I do agree that definitely the chemistry will differ from oil to oil.
Yeah, because we've obviously, when I trained, we used the Rosemary Caddy system, and then obviously that's not broken down in such detail like you have broken down and had the essential oil suppliers, and they just, it obviously is just an average, you know, per essential oil type thing. So
in that respect, it's just as accurate.
Yes.
More accurate, actually, but
yes,
accurate enough. Our hopes and dreams are, to, as I said, to get as many as in there as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also for people to be able to find some research new things, and just perhaps we can chemotype some other oils as well, and how does that influence. I'm really interested in how does these properties of the chemical components influence then the final properties of the essential oil. And perhaps someday we'll have that information. And also, how does this synergy exactly work? Well, that will take a while as well.
Yeah.
But if there is some information, then I'm pretty sure we can incorporate it in there, because we have the basis. For now, what the main focus is getting as much information in there so that we can at least see what we have at this point, and then evaluate it and see what we have to take out or bring in more, and and get clear on what the information is on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time with oils such as, let me show you. Ravinsara, for example.
Yeah.
When I read some articles, there's all these properties that are mentioned for this oil, but we actually didn't find that many on this specific chemotype of, if you know, cinnamon camphora, it has different chemotypes. This is cinnamon, so we couldn't add properties here. But I think that most properties that people talk about are actually on cinnamon.
Yeah.
So just to make sure we're clear what we're talking about, are we talking about the oil or the main component?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong about quoting the main component. It can give us great ideas, but it's not the same thing. So this is something we wanted to make it easier for people to understand, to
Mm-hmm.
see where we need to work on further, because some oils don't have any of these at all. And then you know, what can you do with them?
Mm.
I have a great example of that. I have a friend see, you can also filter oils out. I have a friend, if you heard Phoebe Aromatics, she's from Arizona, and she has really unique oils that she distills that are excellent and very inspiring. About what do you do with them? For example, what do I do with this oil?
Mm. Mm.
See, we found no safety or properties at all about it. We did
Mm.
find application because there were some things written about them in the and she actually had it. I talked about it on the conference as well.
Okay.
So that we can use that for application, but nothing at all on properties and safety on this particular oil. But then if you look at the properties of the chemical components, see how high we got.
Yes.
Because you know, this oil is very high in certain chemical components that we have a lot of information about. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it is anti-inflammatory, but it's quite a high possibility if I, you know, try and say this correctly, that it is anti-inflammatory because it has all these monoterpenes that act that way. And it's curious that I picked this one because sometimes with conifers you'll get a lot of alpha pinene, so it can be predictable. You see it has more than 50 or 60 or 70% even, but this one has a combination of them. See, it's very interesting. And then unless you add them up like this, you wouldn't really have an idea what to do with them, because you know, there are a lot of properties to consider for, you know. So yeah, this is where I'm getting very nerdy. And this is what inspired me, because I work with also a lot of distillers, small distillers. I want to help them out to get their oils
Nice.
noticed, and you know, where to even start with them. So yeah. Also, for studying essential oils and putting them into families, see here you can quickly find what goes where. For example, this is something that my students got really confused with. They would come to my class and they would have my little pie charts. I would draw it for them, but then they would go home and have no idea how their oils look like, because we didn't cover those in some classes. But here you can see where you know, these chemical components fit into. And we do have around 4,500 chemical components. Are you here? I lost you. Go ahead.
Okay, so we had a few technical issues there. So, okay, so tell me again, what is it that we're looking at here, my love?
So I wanted to show you how you can search for essential oils that are rich in a certain functional group. So for example, we search for oils that are rich in monoterpenes. I have, for example, over 50% of monoterpenes.
Yeah.
It shows you that.
Very nice.
So this can perhaps help you see some similarities or differences, or, you know, for example, with monoterpenes, definitely which oils you need to take care of with storage-wise, for example. And something people don't think about, for example, black pepper has a lot.
Black pepper!
You didn't know that?
I did, but how it sneaks in there? It just doesn't make sense.
It has a sesquiterpenes, that's why it has that lower smell as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but black pepper has a lot of monoterpenes.
Have you got pink pepper in there?
We're getting a lot of oils, strange ones with Oshadi right now, but I don't know if we got pink.
He does have quite unusual oils, doesn't he? Some
No,
really
not
interesting
yet.
oils.
But we do have now quite a number. We have over 500 different oils in there.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's quite good.
It's really good.
Took a while for us to get there, but
I can well imagine. How long does it take you to load one essential oil?
well, they're all put in by hand because there's so many things you can do wrong. So depending on how wood, it's like 2 minutes. But
Yeah.
but lavender or Roman chamomile, it can take up to, I think, half an hour sometimes, or 20 minutes.
Gosh.
And then we also, once it's in there, we check with the distiller or the seller for the smell, because we have also descriptions for smell, and that can be subjective. And then we have some questions, perhaps where is it from, and we have to make sure that the data is correct. But since we're running out of time, I want to show you some interesting things that you can play with, or perhaps can be
I think, do you know what would be really useful in that, what would be how, because there is so much information and so much content, which is great when you're researching essential oils, etc. But what about if you're an aromatherapist in a treatment room treating one person, and you want to put a blend together for that person, and it is your kind of everyday use rather than the in-depth research of looking at. Did you know what I mean?
Yeah. You're not a nerd like me, and you just want
No.
you just want to get things out. No, that's
you would have said nerd, and I would have said clever, right? Because I'm like, I'm not as clever as you. Simplify it for me. How am I going to use this every day?
We all have different talents. I have many experts helping me out with this.
Yeah.
So definitely everybody's useful. But I hear you, and we will have the search even better. You can filter out a lot of things. For example, if you're looking for a certain plant part, or if you just, for example, looking for a floral odor, for example, for your blend. So you can really, really search out by a botanical family, cultivation, whatever. But really quickly, for example, you have somebody and he said or she says, I have oily skin, for example. So you type in oily skin, and voila, and you have oils that are referenced to oily skin. So
you can research according to condition as well.
Yes, of course.
And then would that condition extend to kind of emotional? So if you were going...
Of course, you can write in...
grief, anger, stress.
For example. Did I spell it wrong? Of course I did. Anger. I know how to spell that one. So C for anger. But let me tell you here, if you click on, for example, see, and we have bergamot with and without bergamot. So if you click on bergamot, for example, at the top you will find the things that are associated with the body, and then at the bottom this might help you out the things with the mind and emotions. So we're looking at fear. See, so you can find it.
And then on the right hand side, your column here with the the top is the title is in blue. This is all the research then to back up what it is that is about that condition, the research of why that oil is good for that condition.
Yes. This is who said and what he said. So sometimes it is research, and sometimes it's from a book. So that's also something to be careful about.
Just like the amount of work and effort this must have taken, Melanie.
Oh, well, yeah.
I'm just exhausted looking at it, let alone trying to put it all together.
I'm the exhausted one. I made it so you don't have to be.
Yeah, it's just, fair play. Brilliant.
So let me show you another way you can use it. Let me just clear my filters. Another thing is when you can't decide on an oil, for example. So when I often hear people say, I'm using mint oil. and there are many mint oils. Or when you're selling oils and you're selling mint oil, or your client comes to you and said, I'd like to buy a mint oil, but which ones? So we're talking about mentha species. So here we have all of these different species of mint. And what you can do, for example, is you can, again, let me just clear. I love to compare, as you can see, but let me show you how this is useful for you as well. So here we go. And why would I compare them? So I can show my client which one is best for them, because all of these are from mint species, but I see chemistry is quite different. And if you're not so hot with chemistry, or don't want to go there, or it's not for your student or your client, then you can just skip that part and go straight to properties, for example, and say, see, all of these are good antibacterial, but only peppermint, actually, we have research showing that it's anti-inflammatory. So this one, can have an advantage that way. Then for application, you can see, okay, so these three.
Gosh, yeah.
Acne. And this way you can really, really narrow down what is the one you want to use.
Yeah.
Please keep in mind, for example, for wild mint, perhaps there's just not as much information on it as there is.
Oh, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it hasn't got those properties. It's just
yes,
there's no
it's just
information.
that people didn't write about it. It didn't get so much attention. Peppermint is very well tested and covered by authors. So this is another thing that might inspire aromatherapists. Let's please write more about wild mint so we can put it in there. But we have a responsibility as a therapist, so you're probably going to use the things that you can back up your choices with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then definitely for me personally, what it comes down to is here safety. So really quickly, when you're dealing with a client, whether it's selling the oil or using it for your client, you can say, okay, this one is safe in that percentage.
Yeah.
Who said that and why? And usually directly connected to the chemical components. In this case, it will be menthol, I'm guessing. Yeah. So it can really quickly give you an idea which one is best for you.
Just put all of the safety information all in one place as well, which is brilliant.
Yes, well, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's all important, but this is the game changer, It might be great for I don't know, let's say you have athletes, but and you want to use cinnamon because it really kills everything, but then you come to safety and you say, okay, perhaps not the best choice because I burn my foot and make it worse. So yeah, we made it easier for you to actually just make it easier for you to have access to that information, so you make less mistakes. Some things, as I said, there's so much information, it's hard to keep it all in head, and this is what we wanted to do. And another thing, I know
going back to what you're saying about blending safely, I mean, this would be such an incredible tool to make sure that the blend you're putting together for somebody is really safe and stable. Does I'm asking the question, but I know the answer because I use it. Does the program put together, if you put sort of like, a few oils together, does it then give you a complete wheel of all components and tell you what that blend will do?
Yes, of course. So you can also blend oils, and I can show you how. You can, for example, like we said, search for something, and we said oily skin. So right away you can see how different they are, and then perhaps that will also influence your choice.
Yeah.
You don't want to use oils that are similar in chemistry. So choose different ones, because as you see, lemon and mandarin are quite similar, so you might want to choose different ones. So let's choose, I don't know, a lavender to your blend. Do you have any favorites?
Well, I tell you, I have got a blend in my vaporizer today,
okay,
would you put my blend together to see what it is that it's
Go ahead.
doing? Oh my god. So I have some peppermint, mentha piperita.
Okay, so we'll have that one.
And I have Pinus sylvestris.
That's Scots pine, right?
Well, I've just got pine. Just says pine on the front.
Well, let's see. It's probably Scots pine. Okay. Go on. That's it? Or you have something else? Or you froze again? Oh, froze again.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, you're back.
Sorry. Yeah, we've got peppermint, pine, and lemon.
Okay. Oh, here we have lemon. That's it?
Yes.
Okay, so when you click blend, it will show you what you chose.
Ooh.
And I'll take out the lavender because I clicked it before. And as you see, it will right away show you the ratio.
Yeah.
So just fun, having fun.
Loads of fun. Chemistry fun.
We'll have drops, right?
Yeah.
I'll make it private. Do you have a number of drops?
What did I do? 2 peppermint, 3 pine, and 3 lemon.
Okay. So see, as I did that, you would you change the ratio. I see you like monoterpenes.
Wow. Definitely do today.
So I saved it, and then it will show me how your blend looks like. So then you get the pie chart as well, and then you get all the chemical components here that are put in the ratio that you put here. You could have put drops, we could have put milliliters, grams, whatever you use.
Okay. Yeah.
And for this part, we just wrote having fun, but I really encourage you to write more about it. For example, this was for your diffuser, right?
Yes. Yes.
But if I was to put this in an oil, I would write down oil and how much to remind me. And the reason I wanted blend, obviously it's commercial, but my intention was to see what you can do with this blend, and you didn't think about it. So you put it in for a nice atmosphere, and you were right. Because
oh, yes.
all of these 3 oils are, recommended for atmosphere, and then you have more information for what type of atmosphere, because we got that information.
It tells you the type of atmosphere that you're creating with the blend.
Well, with the specific oil, so Madeleine, she uses it to create space, intense, and negatively charged.
That's what happens when I'm in the office. That's why I hate admin. I hate sitting still. So it becomes very tense and negative because I want to move.
There you go. But you actually also did a really good blend for your circulation, your respiratory, cold, concentration. See, all of these with
exhaustion and fatigue. Oh my gosh!
All of this with 100% are that all of the oils used in question have been, have references for it. So it's even a repellent.
I love it.
So you have a lot of information on the oils in your blend, and what it could be useful for. And the reason I wanted to point that out is, again, we tend to use one blend for one thing, and especially for my colleagues that massage with essential oils, they get exposed to so many different oils, and this can ultimately, create allergies and sensitivity to oils. I had friends who that happened to them. So they can make one really smart blend and then use it on different clients instead of using oils. I know this takes away from the holistic approach a little bit, but you have to take care of yourself as a therapist as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope this brings more value to your product, whether it's for sale or for individual.
Yeah.
It gives you more ideas on how to use it. And safety here for each individual oil. But we're still working out how we can make safety even better.
Yeah.
So yes, but please take again into consideration that synergy may work a little bit different, but definitely that all of these, for example, have been studies that show that they're repellent. So this is a good one if you need to repel something. Interesting.
Yeah. Paperwork.
And in this case, it's not negative energy. These are insects. So yeah, and then everybody that uses DropSmith has a dashboard. So in the dashboard, you will find all your blends and comparisons. See, here is my blend, and then I can edit it.
Yeah,
And
it's good.
I like to have all my blends in one place, because for next time, for my client, then I will just duplicate it and make it a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I have the old one, and this one I will have different kinds of, for example, I'll have one less drop here because it's too many monoterpenes, for example. Yeah. And then I'll add something else like lavender or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you can just add it and kind of change it around. It's really, I wanted to make your life simpler.
Oh, it's brilliant.
So, do you have any questions that can be useful for the viewers or students? I don't know how the audience is here. Are they mostly aromatherapists or students or?
Yeah, a mixture. Well, yeah, mostly. Well, all aromatherapists, some qualified and some students at IFPA. Yeah, so either working towards becoming a qualified clinical aromatherapists or already working as aromatherapists. But and what's nice is, I think, with IFPA is that there's a lot of people doing massage and working as kind of sole trader aromatherapists, and then there are others. So I've got a student at the moment. She's training to become an aromatherapist because she has her own candle making company. So yeah, so even DropSmith would be incredibly useful for her as she ventures into kind of the therapeutic properties of her candles as well.
Oh, excellent. Well, yes, for studying, definitely there's a lot of things to study from, and we made sure that, for example, it's chemotyped as well, and the references are different according to chemotypes. I'll show you rosemary, for example. With rosemaries, if we look at different chemotypes, we also get different information. This is something for study and for a therapist to be more clear on why this is important. See, they're very different. But also their application may differ, and definitely safety is different according to the chemotype. We found that, sometimes it wasn't chemotyped, or there was not different information for a specific chemotype. For example, with thyme oils, they are really interesting. Lots and lots of thymes, not only thyme species, but thyme thyme species and thyme chemotypes.
Yeah.
How much do we have? We have 18. Oh, I had no idea. We're up.
Gosh, look how different they are.
Yes, and these are thyme also. These are the same, but different chemotypes.
Yes.
These are different species.
Yeah.
So for papers, I write a lot of articles as well. This saves you time because you can find your references more quickly, and these similarities and things that we need to pay attention to. We really forget. And let me show you another really interesting yarrow. I love
yarrow
because it's so extremely different. See how different they are. And the thing is, we very often we talk about Camazoline when we talk about yarrow. But let me show you something. And they say Camazoline because yarrow tends to be a blue oil.
Yes.
Look. Not a lot of it in there.
Oh, wow.
This one doesn't even, I think this is from Marco. Yeah, Godoy from Italy. He doesn't even have any in there at all.
How does the Chamazolene in that compare to German chamomile?
Come again? How much?
Yeah, how much? What about the German chamomile? How much?
Let's take a look. Chamomile is also, they're very different.
Now look what's happened. You sucked me into chemistry, and now I'm all interested now. What have you done to me?
It's fun, I'm telling you. So
It is.
See how different they are?
Yeah.
Very different. So again, we can compare them, and you'll see. So you're interested in Chamazolene, which, by the way, is not a sesquiterpene.
It's not.
Again, a little bit. See, a little bit.
Yeah, but still so low.
Yeah, yes. So don't get fooled by color and intense smell. It actually has more. Where is it? Visible oxide. This is what you're looking for. Not a lot of people talk about it, because when you talk about oxide, it's always actually talking about cineral. But
Yeah.
we have some other
Yeah,
oxide.
look at that third one, 43%.
Yeah, yeah. And then again, the visible oxide, you know, you have these categorizations. So it's really hard because you also have very different analysis. So somebody will be very specific and write which one, and then somebody will not and will just write visible oxide. And then research is sometimes done, for example, here on alpha pinene, or done on plus minus alpha pinene. So, you know, you can get really, really specific. So, or for example, there's a lot of research on citral, and citral is actually neural and geraniol. So you don't have that much information on geraniol or neural as much as you have with citral as a whole. So we're still thinking of how are we going to make this information available to you, because perhaps not everybody knows that citral and neural are actually neural. Oh, I got myself confused. Neural and neural actually make up citral, so it would be good to have all of that information. Yes. So we're working on that as well. There's many things we're currently working on, making it even better, and even more precise with the dosages as well. You know, although this specific component or this specific oil has been found anti-inflammatory, at which dose and was it done in vitro or in vivo or in humans or mice? So this is all something to consider. And but as you said, you're already overwhelmed by the information that we give you right now. We're thinking of ways of how to incorporate it, but then not to confuse you completely.
Yeah.
That was the hardest thing. That was actually the hardest thing, how to make DropSmith and not make it a clutter.
Yes. Yes.
But still, I felt that all of this information was really necessary to understand oils. You know, my personal belief that it's really necessary that you know all of these aspects, or at least have them available to consider to make a reasonable judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. You actually answered my next question as to, you know, well, why should we use this? Why should we have all this chemical knowledge? Because actually you could end up tying yourself up in knots with, you know, breaking everything down so much that you could end up tying yourself in knots and not, you know, not sure where to turn next. So, you know.
Yes, and I completely hear you. And I was, for years, actually, it was a couple of years that I was in this state of also anger. As I said, I know that word well, because I didn't know what was true or not anymore. There was just so much information, where to place it, what to do with it. I felt completely underqualified. The more I know, the less I know. Who am I going to ask? What am I doing here? why am I teaching pharmacists, but once I got past that, you just need to take time. It takes time for any skill. And with this fast food culture, I think we all expect to know everything.
Yes.
Google provides answer to everything. It's overwhelming, and we need to take time and step by step. And that's why I also made steps with DropSmith. You can just stop here, and look at application if that's where you're at.
Yeah.
And safety, this is the first thing you need to look at. And then, move here and gradually there if you ever come here. And then you can go and dissect it as much as you want. But then again, don't forget to come back and make it holistic, because this is what happened to me.
Well, this is the other thing as well, because there's I think I spoke with the first webinar I did with Michelle Rock O'Neill. When we had our conversation about what we would record, we talked a lot about safety and how important essential oil safety and science and research is. And because of, the queries around non-educated advice on essential oil use, that science and research was becoming more important. And then the worry that some aromatherapists have, or the concerns that some aromatherapists have, that we come away then from the holistic, intuitive kind of aromatherapist to actually your blend has got to be chemically sound, scientifically, and research, etc. And we lose the intuitive therapist along the way. Whereas when you were talking then, I was thinking, actually, do you know what? You can put your blend together intuitively, put it into DropSmith and go, oh, that's going to do exactly what I wanted it to do.
Well, I'm finally starting to feel comfortable in my place in aromatherapy because I find myself more as this person of making bridges than any other aspect. I did do distillation, I did do teaching, I did do therapies, I did do some projects with research as well, but none of that is actually where I feel comfortable. I feel comfortable most is getting all these people who are experts in their fields and bringing them together, and that's what I want to contribute to this community. And exactly as you said, I work with a lot of scientists, not a lot, but enough scientists and professors, and they're great theorists. They have incredible minds, and I always ask them for advice. Just today was another day for advice as well. But then I'm really close with some nurses and therapists who did study aromatherapy and with me as well, and chemistry. But in all honesty, they tell me that most of their blends come intuitively. So
yeah,
I don't know where to form my opinion, because these are the people who actually do the work and get the feedback. And then you have all this theory that is very important as well, but we need to bring it together, and that's what
definitely.
And then there's distilling, that's a whole other area, and perfumery and cosmetics, and there's just so many areas to cover. We have a lot of work to do.
A lot of work. I almost went, yes, good luck, love, you're going to need it.
Well, I finally came in terms that I'm almost happy where I am, and find with that I'll never have a perfect.
No. Let's hope not.
I admit it. You can quote me on that. It will never be perfect because it cannot be. It cannot be. We cannot put nature in binary numbers. So yes,
we shouldn't be allowed to. I don't think we should be allowed to. We shouldn't. We shouldn't be able to figure everything out. There has to be some degree of faith and curiosity and wonder, and I think we lose that if we figure everything out.
Yes, and there's so much more to discover, and we are limited with our body, mind, and everything.
Yeah, and we should just allow, I think, nature just to teach us.
As well. Yes, well, that's kind of our slogan, learn from nature,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I think all of these things are important. It's important we work together and do the best we can with what we have. That's kind of my life motto.
I do think that DropSmith can support the intuitive blender as well, you know.
Absolutely. It will give you more freedom. As you said, you can do your blend intuitively and then pop it in there and see, yes, it's wonderful, or no, well, I kind of missed that.
Oh yeah, tweak it and yeah.
Much cinnamon there.
Yeah. Well, that's far too many monoterpenes, Karen. So we need to add something to that.
Well, your blend, I'm guessing you're not smelling it anymore at all by the chemistry.
Oh, it's actually switched off now. It heard you. Right, that's it.
All you're having now, I'm guessing, is the menthol.
Yes.
Lingering.
Yes.
So I guess that's we ran out of time, or we still have some time?
We have. I think we have. We have. Yes. But Melanie, as always, you are an absolute delight, and yes, you definitely do make chemistry fun. You sucked me right in there.
Thank you. Yeah. So I can take this one off.
I think it just makes it very, very understandable, and it doesn't need to be a frightening thing. It can actually just be a journey of curiosity rather than
well, for me, it definitely is. You know, we don't need all to be scientists and chemistry doctors, but we can definitely learn from it and have some use of it.
Yeah, and just to have all the information in one place. And I think there's probably, do you know what would be really ideal? This might stress you out. Would be an app.
No, we are working on that. We're working.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. Just, I can't promise any dates, but it's
in the background.
It's in the background, and first thing that will be nice for mobiles as well.
That would be so good. Just to use in a treatment room, so you haven't got to have a laptop or something in the treatment room. It'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I know. For some iPads and things like that, it works. But phone, the problem with phone, the hardest thing to figure out, and we figured that out finally, was how to put comparison.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes.
There's so many things to compare, and then how to fit that on screen, but we figured it out.
You have. You are a genius. You are. You are a genius.
Well, that's the design background.
Yes. Yeah, but isn't that brilliant? Like all of your skills come together.
Yes, that's why at DropSmith, that's why I stuck through, because I could express a lot of myself through it.
Yeah.
And stay within this really wonderful. I really have to take this opportunity also to thank everybody who supported me. Lots and lots of people were with me when at my low points, telling me this is wonderful, keep going, still really supporting me. So thank you, everybody. That's a beautiful community out there.
Oh, it's so good. We are.
Back and wave at people. I don't see where I can come back and wave as a person, not as a DropSmith.
I can see you.
No? Well,
let's have a look. I don't know.
It doesn't matter. So
I'm still learning a lot about this. What about if we... I tell you what might be quite good. Why don't we actually put the details of DropSmith on the screen so people can find it if they want to have a look?
Oh, yes. So it's dropsmith.com. Very simple. This is how the first page looks like, and then you have a short intro video, so what is it about, and then you can log in, sign up here.
Perfect.
Have a free trial and things like that. So
the other thing that is so brilliant as well is the price that you've pitched it at. You've made it so affordable to the aromatherapist team.
It's really as low as we can go.
Honestly, very reasonably priced for what you're offering us is fantastic.
Well, yeah, as I said, it's the best we can do because we have to, cover. This is with some code. We have to cover all the costs of research and putting in oils and actually we're still swimming in that ocean of trying to come to zero. But yes, we're going strong. So please support us, please.
I am so pleased that it is going really well for you. I really, really am. And I just wish you so much luck and blessing for the future, and for everything else that you're doing in the background and what you're building just to help our little aromatherapy community. But just thank you so much for giving us your time and just going through all of that with us and helping us get excited about chemistry. And yeah, just all the best for the future, the growth of this little dream that you've had, which has come to fruition and is absolutely fantastic. So well done, you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those wonderful words. I'm
very welcome. So thank you very much, and I hope to actually meet you in person one day. I would really love that.
Me too. If you're coming to Botanica or any of these conferences.
Well, it looks really beautiful. I am very, very tempted. It's very tempting. But yes, thank you, Melanie.